Welcome back to my channel. This is JamJam and today we're going to talk about food. So often when I meet somebody new and they find out that I'm from Bhutan, the first question they have, or one of the questions they have for me is, what kind of food do you guys eat in Bhutan? Is your cuisine similar to that of India, China, Korea, or any neighboring countries to Bhutan? And a simple answer to that is no. So Bhutanese cuisine is distinct and different from all these cuisines. At the same time, we have a bit of kind of like a fusion going on, but it is very much its own cuisine and very yummy. So let's find out what kind of food we eat here in Bhutan. So last week I made a video on bizarre food items of Bhutan, and if you haven't watched that video, you can click the link below. The first item on my list is Pacha Sikkam, my all-time favorite. Just by talking about Pacha Sikkam, I can already taste the fat melt on my tongue. Well, when I say the word fat, don't be alarmed. It's not too fatty nor too rich that after eating it you would feel sick. But it is definitely Bhutan's version of bacon. And I've never been a fan of bacon myself, to be honest. So if you ask me, I would say Pacha Sikkam is way tastier than bacon. And if you're a bacon lover, that's not a problem because you would find Pacha Sikkam even more tastier. Or maybe I'm just biased, who knows? So how do you make Pacha Sikkam? Let's delve into that. In Bhutan, the tradition of eating dried meat and vegetables were born out of necessity. Especially in the past, Bhutan was closed off to the rest of the world, so our ancestors pretty much had to live off what they grew on their lands. And the harsh cold winter months were not suitable for agriculture, hence fresh meat and vegetables were scarce in the winter months. On top of that, there was no proper refrigerating system, so our ancestors resorted to drying many different types of meat and vegetables to preserve them so they'll have food during the cold winter months. So the most common vegetable to be dried is chilies, if chilies can be classified as vegetables. There are two types of dried chilies, Yakum and Shakum. Yakum is basically regular red chilies that have been dried, and a lot of Asian cuisines like Indian cuisine, Chinese cuisine use dried red chilies. However, Shakum is quite unique. To be honest, I haven't seen any cuisine that uses Shakum. So Shakum has a beige yellowish tinge to it, and it's believed to be crispier than Yakum or dried red chilies. And the way to make Shakum is by soaking green chilies in hot water and then sun drying it. If you visit Bhutan in the fall, around September and October, that's when the monsoon season has passed and we have nice warm sunny days, you would spot many rooftops covered in various hues of reds and yellows. That is because many people in Bhutan dry their chilies on the roofs of their homes. Especially in the villages, the contrast of the yellowish-green paddy fields against the red rooftops make for a beautiful scenery. Another popular dried vegetable is lom. Lom is dried turnip leaves, and it is a popular choice of vegetables used by locals with a variety of meat dishes. There are also dried eggplants and pumpkin, which goes well with meat dishes. Sikkam is usually cooked with dried vegetables, mostly lom and dried red chilies. There are also other popular combos such as sikkam and dried eggplants or dried pumpkin. The most traditional way to cook sikkam is to saute it with fresh radish and dried red chilies. You could also chop it into smaller chunks and cook it with cheese and Shakum. Today, a disappearing practice is to cook sikkam with wild orchid flowers. So this one is not like the orchid you would find in the market. It's wild and it has a greenish white color to it. You cannot talk about Bhutanese food and not mention Shakum. Shakum is a local favorite. So what is Shakum? Shakum is jerky, and it can be beef jerky or yak jerky. Personally, I think that yak jerky is much tastier than beef jerky, and I think a lot of Bhutanese people would share the same sentiment. Once the beef or yak meat has completely dried, it becomes shakum, and shakum is usually eaten as is without cooking it. It is eaten with a side of eze, a spicy chili sauce, or ematati. More on ematati later. A hearty Bhutanese breakfast consists of white rice, a side of eze, and shakum accompanied by suja, Bhutanese butter tea. Now that sounds very rich, but back in the olden days, there was no proper heating system in the houses during cold winter months, and a lot of people worked in the farms, so a hearty breakfast was really essential. The way to cook shakum is quite similar to that of sikkam. It can be cooked with dried red chilies and lom. It can also be cooked with fresh green chilies and a variety of vegetables such as spinach, radish, beans, a variety of mushrooms, tree fungus, and even potatoes. My favorite shakum dish is to chop the shakum into small bite sizes and cook it with fin, ema shukam, and cheese. So ema shukam, as I mentioned earlier, is a yellowish tinged dried chili that we eat in Bhutan, and pin is basically glass noodle. In Bhutan, we have a lot of dishes that have pin in it, and another cuisine that I know eats glass noodle is Korean cuisine. The japchae in Korean cuisine is glass noodle as well. Most Bhutanese dishes, especially in western Bhutan, are either sautéed or stir-fried, so they're on the drier side without much gravy to it, whereas in eastern Bhutan, a lot of their dishes are in soup form or have a lot of gravy to it, so it's definitely considered a healthier choice. Also in eastern Bhutan, corn is a popular choice of grain instead of rice, and they have a popular dish called karang, which is a mixture of rice and corn. Rice is more common in western Bhutan and in south of Bhutan. Up next is Bhutan's favorite dish, momos. Talking about a plate of hot steaming momos with a side of spicy eze is definitely making my mouth water. Momo is a dish you can find in almost any restaurant in Bhutan. In fact, there's special restaurants and momo joints selling nothing but momos. Momos are basically dumplings, but I would beg to differ. The reason being that the wrapper of the momo is a bit thicker than dumplings, and even the sizes of momo can be a bit bigger than dumplings in general, and it tastes way better than dumplings too. In Bhutan, the most popular momos are pork momo, which is minced pork and onions, beef momo, which is minced beef and onions, and cheese momo, which consists of thinly chopped cabbages, onions, and cheese. But nowadays you can find ematati momo, potato momo, and a lot of other variations of momo. Momos are mostly steamed, but it can also be fried. And momos are always eaten with a side of spicy sauce called eze. I guess it's not a surprise that many foreigners deem ematati as the national food of Bhutan, because us Bhutanese love our chilies and our cheese, so the combination of chilies and cheese is definitely worthy of being called the national dish of Bhutan. I guess by now it's pretty much obvious how much we Bhutanese love our chilies. In Bhutan, chilies are not just spices added to spice up the dish. In fact, it is the main ingredient of a lot of dishes. I don't think there'll be any Bhutanese out there that doesn't eat chili. And same goes for dasi. Dasi is found in almost every Bhutanese dish. Dasi is eaten across Bhutan in many households on a daily basis. And this could possibly be the reason why there are many variations of ematati in Bhutan. For instance, if you add potatoes to ematati, then it becomes kewatati. Kewatati is potatoes, chilies, and cheese. Then there is shamutati, which is mushroom, chilies, and cheese. Shamu or mushrooms are an integral part of Bhutanese cuisine, and rightfully so, as the Bhutanese mountains or forests are home to various exotic species of mushrooms, the most popular ones being mashitake, chantilly, and tree fungus mushroom. Then there is JamJam tati, which is chilies, cheese, and beans, Gente tati, which is spinach, chilies, and cheese, Laku tati, which is radish, chilies, and cheese. The list could go on. So you can pretty much add any choice of vegetable to your ematati, and then it would take the name of that dish and tati. My all-time favorite is called nake tati, and nake is wild ferns found in springtime in Bhutan. Well, technically you can find nake in summer as well, but this dish is best eaten when the ferns are tender, so spring is the season for nake. And if you visit Bhutan in spring, you should definitely indulge in a delicious dish of naketasi served with white rice. Up next is Puta, and if you speak Spanish, the name of this dish might sound a bit controversial to you, but I can assure you that in Bhutan, Puta is a delicacy. Puta is native to Bumtang, a region in central Bhutan, and Puta is sweet buckwheat noodles. It has a taste very similar to the Japanese soba noodles. Since Bumtang is located at a higher altitude with a short growing season, cultivation of rice was not possible, but crops like buckwheat was. So Puta was a dish born out of necessity, but today it is a delicacy, as Puta noodles not only make for a savory, delicious meal, but also the tradition of making Puta is a big part of our culture and tradition. Moreover, locals believe the high altitude makes the buckwheat grown in Bumtang region to be more nutritious and tastier, making the Puta noodles tastier. Making Puta noodles is a time-consuming process, so it was traditionally made only on special occasions or for special guests. To make Puta, buckwheat flour is kneaded into a dough. Then the lumps of dough is pressed into noodles by using a noodle making machine. The traditional Puta machine consisted of wooden stand with a rectangular shaped base with many pin-sized holes at the bottom and a wooden bar or lever which was used to press the dough out of the holes. Once freshly pressed, Puta noodles are placed into a bamboo strainer and boiled in hot water. In a separate pan, a batter of eggs, spring onions, chilies and Sichuan pepper is stir-fried, and it is then poured over the strained noodles. This is how you can enjoy a bowl of yummy, delicious Puta. In Bhutan, people mostly eat rice, so noodles are a rarity, and because of this reason, Puta is nowadays a delicacy. At number 6, we have Juma. Juma is basically blood sausage. In my bizarre food video about Bhutan, I have mentioned the other intestine dishes that we eat in Bhutan, but Juma wasn't as bizarre, and its blood sausages are eaten in many parts of the world, so I did not include that in that list. However, it's in this list because Juma is quite a popular dish in Bhutan. Like any blood sausage, Juma is made from an intestine of either a cow, yak or pig. The filling for Juma is a batter made out of blood, rice starch powder, Sichuan peppercorn, minced mint leaves, chili powder, spring onions and salt. This mixture is poured into the intestine and then cooked in hot boiling water. Once cooked, Juma is hung to dry. Juma is usually fried in oil with some dried red chilies, or Juma can also be eaten as champa. Champa is a side dish eaten while drinking alcohol. I've mentioned it in my bizarre food videos. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. Gente is a dish very similar to momos or dumplings, but the main difference is the wrapper, which is made of buckwheat instead of wheat flour, and the filling is made out of turnip leaves and cheese. Gente is native to Ha, a region in western Bhutan. Since Ha is also located at a high altitude like Bumtang, the harsh winters and short growing season doesn't allow for many vegetables and crops to grow in this region, but the ones that thrive like buckwheat and turnips are believed to be tastier than the ones grown in warmer regions. I heard an interesting theory once that crops grown in harsh conditions turn out to be tastier. Like everything else in life, pain and suffering makes us stronger and better. Anyhow, back to Gente. In the past, Gente was eaten during a special festival called Lamba, which is a local New Year celebrated in the regions of Paro and Ha. Nowadays, you can find Gente throughout the year and many restaurants sell it as well. Tip is Bhutanese congee, and just like Gente, tip is a dish reserved for special occasions. This special occasion is Losar, Bhutanese New Year. Losar is usually celebrated in late January or February, coinciding with the Lunar New Year, as Bhutan also follows the lunar calendar for special events like festivals and auspicious days. Another holiday that we drink tip on is Nilo. So in Bhutan, Nilo or winter solstice is similar to Losar, and it is celebrated in pretty much same fashion. There are many variations of New Year celebrated in different regions of the country, but Losar and Nilo are celebrated throughout the country. So On both Losar and Nilo, we would start off the day by the whole family gathering together and enjoying a breakfast which always includes tip. Tip can be made with white rice or red rice, the latter being more popular. Red rice is a rice native to Bhutan. It has a distinct nutty taste and a reddish brownish color to it. I know in Korean cuisine they also have a red colored rice, but that is colored with red bean. But the one we have in Bhutan is naturally red rice. In this tip made out of red rice, we add chunks of meat. It can be either beef or yak meat or even pork, and chunks of yak cheese called chugo. We also add condiments such as Sichuan pepper, chili powder and salt to enhance the taste of tip. Menge is basically Bhutanese pizza, and it can be made from white rice or red rice. But just like tip, in Menge too, red rice is generally preferred over white rice. So to make Menge, first you need to cook the red rice, and then this cooked rice would be kneaded into a sticky rice dough, which would then be spread into a bowl in the shape of a round pizza. Then in a separate pan, you would lightly roast some amaranthus seed, and after it has been roasted, you would pound it into a paste. After that, you would take this paste and fry it in a special oil called pansi, and to be honest, I don't really know the English name of this oil. I tried to Google it online, but I couldn't find any. And in this mixture, you would also add a batter of rice starch water, eggs, chopped spring onions and ginger, and you need to cook this mixture until it turns into a viscous gravy. Then you would finally pour this gravy over the Menge base that we kneaded earlier. That's basically your Menge or Bhutanese pizza. At number 10, we have Patup. Patup is a variation of soup noodle. The shape of Patup noodles look like small C-shaped balls, very similar to gnocchis, and they're made from wheat flour. To make a tasty bowl of Patup, you need to slow cook some bite-sized bones for a long time to extract a nice rich broth. And in this broth, you would add these C-shaped balls, some fresh turnips, radish and spinach, and cook until the noodles float to the surface. When the noodles float to the surface, that means the noodles are fully cooked. You can also add some condiments such as Sichuan peppercorn and chili powder to enhance the taste of Patup. Patup is a dish for the cold winter months, and a warm delicious bowl of Patup not only makes for a hearty meal that will warm your heart but also your soul. That brings us to the end of Bhutanese food that we eat in Bhutan, and earlier I did mention that Bhutanese people eat a lot of rice, but after making this list I've realized that we do eat a lot of flour-based food such as noodles or dumplings as well, so it turned out that I was wrong. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end, and as a bonus I have another Bhutanese dish for you. It is called Yakum, and basically Yakum means dried fish, and this one comes from India. It's a salty dried fish, and usually in Bhutan we cook it with a bit of garlic, red chili pepper and spring onions, and it's very salty but at the same time very savory and really yummy. If there is anything about Bhutan you would like to know, let me know in the comment section down below so I can make a video on it. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time.